Today we're almost burdened with the variety of influences around us. Of course, social media exacerbates this problem too, where we're pretty much bombarded by hundreds of different lifestyles, aesthetics, artistic visions, like a day. It's so easy to feel confused or unsure or even lose focus in your work and even your desires, what you want. Secrecy for you is a way of combating this, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think whether you know it or not, with all of those things, especially social media, you're influenced, I would say, mostly in wrong directions, because trends are just trends for a reason, and they don't fulfill you necessarily. So, yeah, being secretive, it's just to be more clear with yourself, and it gives you a confidence in yourself when you're not constantly looking at other people, you know.
It's very disciplined too, I think. There's a restriction, a very healthy restriction. You can do so much with so little. The smallest amount that you can have is just you, right? And that is a whole world of beauty, of inspiration, of your own interests. And so many people stay away from those and they look at other people's, and there's just a wellspring of it within yourself, and so many people just don't even bother to take a dip in that, you know.
There's so much to evolve within yourself, you know. I used to think, I remember in high school when I was first looking into fashion and designers, and how often they come up with, or they create seasons of clothes, you know.
Yeah.
How often. And I remember thinking, how can they possibly be that inspired all the time with things, you know? How can they constantly be drawing influence? And, you know, I remember being in awe of that. And now it's so obvious to me.
Mm-hmm.
I could come up with a collection each day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Every day you read about someone new, you see a new artwork, you watch a new documentary on an artist.
Fashion designers are a great point to bring up, because fashion designers do not come onto the scene. They don't come into the fashion world without having a very solid sense of identity, right? So they're already focused on a fixed point.
And then if you're talking about houses that are decades old, they then know that history of them and have to combine those.
And they still keep creating new work.
Which is even more impressive.
It is. It's very impressive.
To mix those and merge those, and to have yourself within a brand that is so, it's worldwide, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of birth something new out of it with you it's very impressive, yeah.
To do so much with so little.
Even just that, even coming from when I was 15 and thinking how crazy that is for a person to do, and now being totally understanding it, you know, is a huge, I'm very proud of that within myself, you know?
I can see it. Just living with you, I can see that too. I remember the first times we were hanging out and you were just like, I want to find out what my aesthetic is. And I was like, you know what it is. I could tell you just hadn't collected the images or collected the inspiration, but you knew where you were going. And then it took no time at all.
Celine,
it was
Celine,
crazy.
Let me tell you what it took. It took finding you. That's what it took, all right? I'm giving you this credit because, it was in me. All of this was in me, right? but
I just struck the match, right?
there it was.
Yeah. I am impressed though. Like, it was definitely obvious to me that all those years that you kept to yourself, all those years that you were kind of, I would say you were definitely alone in a way, and you kind of had your solitude, and maybe you felt lost or confused, but you could tell that you were keeping the influences, the inspiration just kind of locked up somewhere in your head. And then when you finally came to a place where you felt free to express yourself, you just let it all out. And it came out, your identity formed in no time at all. It was actually incredible to watch. It was it exploded. Like, I've never seen somebody figure it out so quick.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, and the thing is, it definitely felt quick for me too, but then I was like, is this just another little phase then? Like, is it real, you know? And now, obviously, I know it's more solid, but thank you.
Yeah, no, it was really, I was amazed, actually. It really is. I talked about this in another video, just how being in the right environment, that will do it.
And it, like with us, with me, it took one person, you know.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You don't need much.
No, you
really don't. I also think it's interesting too, since we started living together and talking about this as a concept, but you more and more, I hate to go back to social media, but because everyone talks about how unhealthy it is for you and how you should just stay away from it, but you tell me more and more that you just don't want to be online at all. You just want to erase your presence online completely. And I find that just very interesting because, of course, being online, there is such an abundance of inspiration and you're able to get to that very quickly. But you just tell me just a little bit more about why you don't care to be on social media, why you don't want to have that online like footprint anymore.
I think a lot of it has to do with what we just talked about. Now that I know my aesthetic or my direction, there's just something in me that keeps saying that it's just pointless and that I don't care if people know or not.
I think I just remembered this now, but a huge part, not only this doesn't have so much to do with secrecy as it does just the art of living life and appreciating life and paying attention to the things that happen in it and experiences. But if you're enjoying your life, you're not posting about it as much. Most people who are out there enjoying themselves are not on their phone. They're not texting. They're not on social media. They're not posting their stories. Yeah. They're in it.
And I've definitely never been someone to consider my phone in times like that. And I mean, we live a very constant, beautiful life.
Yeah.
Together. Everything in our life could be photographed, could be caught on video, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's more beautiful to me that we don't.
This translates, this subject, this sacred aspect to it really translates really well into this very important part of the interview that I wanted to get to. The tendency to be secretive started out for you as a form of protection, but now it's just because most people will not understand how you live. They won't understand your ideas. They won't understand even basic concepts that you will muse over all day long, right? So there's really no point in sharing. There's a few people in the world that will get it. If you sit there and you explain it to them plainly and they say, oh yeah, of course. And then there are people that, you know, come in with the questions and they want to know, but they just won't understand. So bringing people into that world is like tainting it. You try to explain to them something that you do in your life and you're like, why did I even say it? I feel like I'm degrading it or having to simplify it for them to understand.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not the real thing.
And I've done that before, and then done that thing, and thought about how much I regret telling someone.
Yeah. It's like, why?
And it's like, it's so, I mean, it's frustrating, but it's a big lesson to learn, because it could be the simplest thing.
There's so many things that we do that people just think are superfluous, stupid, or illogical, or whatever. It's like, okay, if you don't get it right at the base, then the conversation's over.
I mean, we've talked, especially since we've lived together, we've talked about how we just haven't felt like we want to hang out with many people.
Yeah.
With basically anyone else, we're very, very, very selective. And
we have this desire to stay away from everyone.
And I think that this is all in the same conversation.
It is, yeah.
I want less people in my life, and as harsh as that may sound, it's beneficial.
You want to be surrounded by people. Of course, variety is the exception. You want variety in your life, but you do want people that are like-minded around you. Otherwise, there comes that confusion. There comes that tainting of ideas. There comes that conversation we had earlier today in this video about being distracted by all these different types of thinking, different types of aesthetics. I mean, we literally, both of us, why we get along so well, right? We both came from homes and environments that just didn't suit us, right? And that was a huge distraction for so many years. And now we're in a place where we can just be who we are.
And thrive.
Yeah, and have our behaviors that feel natural to who we are. Mm-hmm. And when you keep on including outside people, it could be people from work, it could be anybody, just telling them your business, having them in your life, whatever. It's distracting, and you're wasting your time putting energy into things that have nothing to do with how you want to live, what you want to talk about, what your interests are.
And I think it comes back to, we're artists, and people have talked about this for centuries, being artists. Normal people, they cannot connect with you. And you can love them, we can love our families, we can love certain people, but being an artist is both a gift and a burden in many ways. I think being secretive, you just need to learn that as an artist, if you're going to be a good artist.
And with that, the whole secretive thing goes into this tendency for isolation. This is what all that is. Secrecy is a type of isolation. It's a type of confinement. It's more than just protection. And two, I think what's important is that we recognize that we're not socially acceptable people in the way that we think, what we do, what we want. And we accept that about ourselves. It's pretty obvious now. We don't want anything to do with the outside, external things that if that hurts people or whatever, it's like, hey, at least we're being open about it. I don't think anybody would walk into our life and be like, oh, you're normal.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, would you rather us tell the truth, or would you rather us lie to your face?
Mm-hmm.
That's the choice that you have to make. And maybe one day you're gonna see your paintings, my writing, whatever. This is how it needs to be for that to happen. Yeah.
Jim Morrison. I automatically think of you telling me about Jim Morrison and how his family wasn't sure if he had died when he died, because it was something he would do, fake his death, just to be away. It's just so common for artists to feel this burden, to feel this desire to just get away, because there's a lot of pain in us. There's a lot of pain involved in the separation. But you have to do it. I don't know. I couldn't even explain it now clearly, that urge to push everyone away, other than the fact that it's just to avoid hearing some silly sentence or anything that just brings you out of your world.
Everything of that is so, at least with me, it's so heightened, It's this way or it's death.
Yeah, it's this or nothing.
It's
yeah.
literally that extreme.
It's so true.
And so if people are harsh towards me, or, you know, it's it's this or death. So bring it.
Yeah.
You know, this is what has chosen me.
Tendencies.
We'll go live in our house in the middle of nowhere, hardly go into society, and we'll be so happy. I mean, basically, you can't mess around with being an artist.
Yeah.
And you can't mess with artists because they're gonna choose their art over anyone.
Yeah, because it's the only thing that brings you like actual happiness and freedom.
Yeah, and it's you can't explain why, but
yeah,
it's just how it is.
It's a lonely life in a way, you know. It that sounds real romantic and all that. It is kind of lonely, I'd say, but there's also such a perfect joy in it.
There's much more fulfillment in it.
Because it's a world of your own creation, you know. How many people can say they've done that? Even if it is fantasy, even if it is illusion, illogical, completely and totally fucking ridiculous, you were able to live your life in it successfully for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's something.
Absolutely.
Well, that's part 2. Yeah, this was definitely one I wanted to talk about for a long time. And I'm glad we did it in this style, this kind of interview style, especially because, like I said in the video before this one, in part 1, you know, you kind of introduced me. Of course, I was familiar with solitude, but I was not familiar with secrecy and keeping things from people. Because I'm an egomaniac, so, like, I like to tell people I have this fixation where I want people to think I'm, like, intelligent and capable, and like I don't gotta do any of that stuff. So it's nice to live with somebody and to be almost like an apprentice to someone like that who has like literally absolutely no care, like no actual even instinct to want to do that. Like you're very extreme, and it's really impressive.
I didn't even know it until you kind of brought it to my attention.
Yeah, so...
And it's interesting because I think I get a lot of that from my father, because he's very much reserved in the same ways. You know, he's basically a genius within his craft, and
that's all he needs.
Doesn't talk about it.
It's
Daddy's
cool,
girl, you know.
Daddy's girl. It's cool too. The incense too. I just want to say this on camera. I've told you about it, but incense used to be used as a way to tell time, right? For how long incense burns, and you can tell in this video how long, you know, the video is if you know, let's say that the incense burns for like 45 minutes or in an hour, and you can like tell from, because we started it at the beginning and it's been about 30 minutes now, so it's so cool. Again, it was such a pleasure having you on my channel this week. And
the pleasure is mine.
Oh, only yours. We will see you next week, everyone. Good night. Or good morning. Have a great rest of your day, whatever. Yeah. Bye.